So I've got it pinned, and I put a different colored pin in the bottom so that way I know that's where I'm supposed to stop, because that's the stop of the back, where the zip is ultimately going to stop. So I'm going to go across it and come up. I'm going to start at the top. I left this open. I'm going to start at the top. I'm going to come down. Then I'm going to zip this up so that I don't have to deal with this. And then finish, come up, do my loop, stop, zip this down, come up, so that way I don't have to deal with the loop of the zipper foot going around this, because sometimes when you do it, it likes to push the zipper over. So put this on at the sewing machine. I can't say I didn't give myself a good challenge with this beaded material, but hopefully once I get the zipper in, it's going to be worth it. So I've got this seam steamed and pressed open, and I'm going to take a little bit of magic sizing just to get it down nice and flat. And then I'm going to place my zipper in. Be careful not to scorch. The magic sizing is a little tricky. It doesn't come out a little bit at a time. It comes out way too much, in my opinion. My pink iron makes me happy. There we go. Yeah, it's taken a while for this sizing to evaporate. So that's that. I'm going to watch out for my beading, which is on the other side. And now I'm going to take my zipper and I'm going to pin it. First I took it to the sewing machine and I put the end where I wanted it to end, and then I went back and forth in that spot, so that way I would have the spot tied off. And I'm coming right over with that. Still using my metallic thread, which is pretty expensive, but at this point I just want to use it, and I don't feel like changing the bobbins. We all know how that is. So I just took it and went back and forth, so that way I'm going to end up cutting this off. First I want to place it face down onto the dress on that seam, and I want to zip it and put the top right at the top, right here, all the way to the top. And then I'm going to pin this all the way down, and I'm going to make sure that this zipper is in line with the seam. So right in the middle, pin on both sides. Right down the middle. Make sure those two are kissing. I tested on a scrap piece of material to make sure my iron wouldn't scorch my netting. And what I did for the seam, that was a little puckery that you saw earlier, I took it and I cut the seam from 5/8 down to this about 1/4, and I put some sizing on it, and I'm just going to press it over to the side. I'm not going to press it open because then it will be more obvious for the seam. So that'll make it a little more presentable. I mean, you're going to have a seam anyways, but if I opened it, now you're going to see two sides of the netting that was sewn. So rather than seeing two, you're only just going to see one. And hopefully the beads are going to outshine the seam. So pressing that down is important. So getting that pressed, finishing that up, and then taking the zipper back to the zipper and moving this, putting it on my iron here at the head of the iron, I mean the ironing board, head of the ironing board, and I'm marking the bottom of the zipper stop where I want to stop, and here's my top of the dress, and I've done my basting. So now I'm going to press this open and give it a good steam. Okay, so I've gone down to here where I want to stop. It's underneath. I've overlapped the edges and I stopped right here, but my zipper is going to come past that area because I was following the pattern. In this dress, I followed the pattern somewhat, and then there's some changes that I made on my own. So this was one of the changes that I did not make. I just followed the pattern and let the zipper come to this spot. But then when I did the overlay, I decided there was no way that I was going to get the zipper to come past all these beads. This was a real challenge. So what I had to do is I had to cut off the beads and the seam allowance, and I couldn't just smash the beads, which I thought I would do, because in the back they have this metal, so even if I smashed them, they would still have this metal left on them. So when I picked out this pretty fabric and thought it would be beautiful over top of it, I wasn't taking into consideration the beads with the back on them. So really look at your material when you're thinking, oh, I'm just going to make a nice little dress for my 2-year-old. It'll be so easy. It's not like making a wedding dress. And then look, see the beads, they're not evenly placed. They're scattered all over the place. So this is my edge, and how am I going to deal with that edge? Well, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to try to make it as straight as I can when I'm done. And I'm just going to leave it. I'm not going to, I don't have a serger, so I can't serge the edges. I thought about doing a blanket stitch, but then I think it would be too puckery, because even when I lengthen the stitch with this material, it still kind of puckers a bit. So I have to press this out to see if I can use some sizing, and maybe that'll help. But at this point, it's just going to stay the same the way it is. It's just going to be just a straight lined up with the hem of the outside. So there's some spots there that are uneven, but I will fix that. So back to the zipper, which is the final, coming to the finish line. It's not the final, but it's coming to the finish line. So I've basted from here to the top, and this is already done. This is lined and it's finished, and I should have probably done something so that I could get that zipper in there differently, but it is what it is now. So I'm going on doing what I'm gonna do and using the resources that I have now. Without, I can't tear this all out, because this little dress for my 2-year-old cost approximately upwards to $75 by the time I got done buying the tulle, the lining, the material, the metallic thread, the pattern, everything. I should have counted the costs before I started, but I didn't, because I thought it would be simple for my 2-year-old, and I was up for the challenge of using that beaded material. So here we go with the zipper. I'm going to take this over to the iron, to my pretty pink iron, and I'm going to press this open, and then I'm going to place the zipper in there. So here we go. Right now I did a 5/8 seam down to right about here, and I'm about ready to put the zipper in. I'd love to just leave it as it is and slip it over her head, but I want to make it professional. So how do I put a zipper in? Well, first you have to do a 5/8 seam going down to the end where you want to put your zipper in, and then you stop and you do the longest length of stitch, a basting stitch, which I've done here.